Chapter 161, 128. The Disdain of the Student Council. Yi, Qi Blood. Xian, Essence Qi. Cao, A Cup Ointment. Liang, Upper Limbs. Zhe, Lower Limbs. Lin Zikan schemed through the translation materials in his hand at the speed of reading 10 lines at a glance, studying the text on the blood tempering technique. After studying for a while, it felt like he was learning classical Chinese from a previous cultural class. Only, it was more obscure and more concise than classical Chinese. From which era were these texts? Thousands of years ago? Or perhaps tens of thousands of years ago? Lin Zikan was very curious about this. What made him even more curious was why, given that the blood tempering technique was so powerful, it had fallen into obscurity. Was it because the age of dusk was not conducive to cultivating later generations? While Lin Zikan was musing over these things, Song Yuan, who had changed out of her yoga clothes and into a martial arts uniform, walked in from outside and said, "Zai Chen, someone from the student council is looking for you. They're waiting at the entrance of the institute right now." "Looking for me?" Lin Zikan was somewhat puzzled. Song Yuan brushed her bangs from her forehead, her voice rational as she said, "I think it's highly likely they're here to invite you to join the student council. After all, you performed exceptionally well in yesterday's initiation trial. As the strongest student organization in the school, they definitely want you to join." Hearing her say this, Lin Zikan figured that if the student council president was looking for him, it was probably for this reason. However, he had no interest in the student council and didn't want any positions or titles. Seeing that he was uninterested, Song Yuan said with a smile, "Members of the student council get a credit subsidy every month, and there's not much to do on a regular basis. Joining is like making a profit. I suggest you join." Lin Zikan's eyebrows lifted. There was a credit subsidy? Well, in that case, he would have to take his talents to the student council. With that thought, Lin Zikan hurried to the institute's entrance, so as not to keep the people from the student council waiting too long. Upon arriving at the entrance of the institute, what met his eyes was a group of males and females with formidable auras. All were upperclassmen, and the biological pressure emanating from them was such that even the lowest among them was at the level of an ordinary 7th order. The highest among them, the leading student council president Zhou Suihong, stood out. The biological pressure radiating from him had broken through the ordinary category and stepped into the advanced level. He was a genuine advanced level creature. Seeing Lin Zikan come out, Zhou Suihong introduced himself in a neutral tone, "Hello, I am Zhou Suihong, the president of the student council." Although he had already introduced himself in front of the new students yesterday, he still gave a brief self-introduction in front of Lin Zikan out of politeness. "President Zhou, hello." Lin Zikan also returned the greeting politely. Zhou Suihong didn't like to waste time, so without any small talk, he got straight to the point, "You performed exceptionally well in the initiation trial yesterday, meeting the student council's recruitment requirements. My visit today is to invite you to join the student council and become a presidential seed. To be groomed for the role of a future student council president. There are many benefits to joining the student council, such as enjoying special treatment and privileges not available to ordinary students," he continued. "For instance, special provisions for meals 3 times a day, participation in the school's major and minor decision-making processes, and a monthly credit subsidy, among others." After explaining these perks, Zhou Suihong asked, "Are you interested in joining the student council?" Lin Zikan, "Of course." Zhou Suihong nodded, then said, "You can join, but there is one condition, you have to give up the pure blood human path and choose the genetic fusion path." "Why?" Lin Zikan's eyebrows furrowed slightly, puzzled. Zhou Suihong explained, "The student council only accepts future geniuses. You are very talented now, but if you do not choose the genetic fusion path, no matter how talented you are, you will become mediocre like everyone else." Lin Zikin was unconvinced. I believe the pure-blood human path has a future and won't become mediocre. The pure-blood human path has no future, Zhou Suihong stated decisively. Then, he added, if the pure-blood human path had a future, President Liu and Instructor Song wouldn't be in such a sorry state now. President Zhou, must I choose the genetic fusion path to join the student council? Yes. Then forget it, I'm not joining. After dropping that remark, Lin Zikin turned and went back inside the institute. How could the benefits of joining the student council ever outweigh those of joining the Tianren Pavilion? If he had to give up the pure-blood human path just to join, then there was no point in joining the student council. Seeing Lin Zikin turn and leave without further discussion, Zhou Suihong was stunned. He hadn't expected Lin Zikin to be so decisive. The other members of the student council around him were also quite surprised. When they came to their senses, they started cursing one after another. This newcomer king really has a screw loose, insisting on following the pure-blood human path. Must have been brainwashed until his brains spilled out. Got the title of newcomer king and got cocky, hey. Such a stupid freshman, he's gonna regret it later. By then, if he comes to his senses and wants to join the student council, it won't be so easy. President, I told you before, Tianren Pavilion's brainwashing is intense, no need to waste time trying to recruit him. Zhou Suihong didn't say a word, just shook his head and quickly led the others away from the entrance of the research institute to recruit other talents. Having talent without a future is not being a genius. It's called a waste. Since Lin Zikin wasn't willing to give up the pure-blood human path, there was no need to recruit him. He didn't have much hope to begin with, just wanted to see if he could persuade him to try. As a result, Lin Zikin didn't give them any chance, he turned around and left without a word. One can only say, Tianren Pavilion's brainwashing is too powerful. First Song Yuan, now Lin Zikin, their brains were thoroughly washed out. On the other side, as soon as Lin Zikin returned to the research institute, Song Yuan asked him if he had joined the student council. Lin Zikin told her what had just happened, infuriating her and causing her to swear, cursing the entire student council as fossils. They were all around 20 years old. Yet their thinking was so antiquated, totally hopeless. Close to 11 a.m., Lu Juanwu, who hadn't been seen all morning, finally showed up at the research institute. He looked absolutely drained, with dark circles under his eyes and a listless air about him, as if he'd been squeezed dry. Seeing him look like this, Song Yuan felt a wave of emotion. President, you are truly great. For the advancement of the pure-blood human path, you sell your body night and day to draw in investments. If the pure-blood human path makes a breakthrough in the future, your name is bound to go down in history. Lu Juanwu's mouth twitched slightly at this. Can't you give a compliment? Would it kill you to leave out the words sell your body? With those 4 words, even the phrase go down in history took on a different taste. It turned into the green of brothels. Muttering complaints internally, Lu Juanwu turned to Lin Zikin and advised him with a rather shaky voice, Zi Chen, remember, women are the stumbling block on the evolutionary path. They'll knock your bones and suck your marrow. If you can avoid women, then avoid them. Lin Zikin just smiled and said nothing. He couldn't possibly avoid women. Intimacy between men and women is human nature. To put it broadly, it's biological nature. Suppressing biological nature is certainly detrimental to evolution. Once he and Shen Qinghan break through the last step in the future, he plans to revel night after night. He's going to fully combine his physical strength with Shen Qinghan's special constitution and enjoy every moment of pleasure. By the way, Zi Chen, the school provides housing arrangements for the families of geniuses and can even arrange work within the school. Do you want to bring your parents over to live? After speaking, Lu Juanwu added, with a talent like you, heretical sects will likely target you in the future, and your family could be implicated. I advise you to bring your parents to live at the school as soon as possible. Lin Zikin, I understand, President. I'll go home this weekend and talk to my parents about it. Lu Chuanwu nodded, then continued, give me your phone, and I'll help you activate the permissions to accept school tasks. Lin Zikin was puzzled, isn't this only available to activate in the second semester of freshman year? He had read the student handbook and was aware of how school tasks worked. Every day, the school posts various tasks on the student app. Tasks to assist campus tutors with their work. Tasks to help the security department catch criminals off campus. And tasks to eliminate members of the heretical sect or exotic beasts off campus, and so on. Completing tasks earns school credits. And these school tasks, freshmen can't accept them during the first semester, they must wait until the second semester to do so. With your strength being so strong now, there's no need to wait until the second semester of freshman year like everyone else. Start accepting tasks now, the sooner you start, the sooner you earn credits, don't waste your time getting stronger. As Lu Chuanwu spoke, he activated the task acceptance permissions on Lin Zikin's phone. About 2 minutes later, he handed the phone back to Lin Zikin, saying, I've already activated it for you. Enter the task page from the bottom right corner of the school app's homepage. Lin Zikin took his phone and curiously clicked into the task page to check the tasks. At that moment, Song Yuan said, your sister Yan here goes off campus to do tasks every week to earn school credits. You can join me on tasks in the future, get familiar with the process, and gain experience in completing tasks. Lin Zikin, then I'll have to trouble Sister Yan when the time comes. Don't mention it, don't be so formal. It's only right for a senior to look after juniors. After a while, I'll accept a task to eliminate exotic beasts, and I'll take you to broaden your horizons. Song Yuan smiled and then added, although your sister Yan may be ordinary compared to top-level talents, but against the average person, your sister Yan is still very strong. I'm invincible below the advanced level, bring on any ordinary exotic beasts, and I'll take them all down. Lin Zikin laughed, of course. Chapter 162, 129, Peak Chart Challenge. The three of them had a brief chat. Soon, Lu Chuanwu went off to sleep in his laboratory. He had fought all night without a single minute of rest, and he felt like he was about to drop dead if he didn't catch up on sleep. Normally, with a physical strength comparable to that of an advanced-level creature, he could go a whole week without feeling tired. But Yuan Dongji had really drained him last night. One round after another. Being vastly outclassed in biological level, he just couldn't keep up. The Dragon Lady only seemed proper on the surface, but she was more licentious than anyone when out of sight, a true paragon of contrast. After Lu Chuanwu left, Lin Zikin sat down on a sofa nearby and started to check the tasks on the school app. There were 3 types of tasks. Published by the school. Published by the students. Published by external entities. Among them, the tasks published by external entities, often by official departments like public security, were the most numerous. Lin Zikin proceeded to open the tasks published by the school first. After a brief look, he found that there weren't many tasks and they were all minor affairs. Either helping the president with some work or assisting the academic affairs office. The reward for the tasks was mostly 1 credit, with a few offering 2 credits. Although the credits were few, the tasks were not difficult and highly sought after, usually being snatched up the moment they were posted. Lin Zikin wasn't interested in these menial tasks. After a quick look, he exited the page. Next. He clicked into the tasks published by students. Task: looking for a genetic integrator as a sparring partner, female required, with preference for a beast-eared beauty with fair skin and long legs. Reward: 5 credits per month. As soon as he clicked in, Lin Zikin saw this task that was hard to take seriously. Is this really about finding a sparring partner? Haha, I won't even burst your bubble. Continuing to scroll down, most of the tasks were more or less the same. Most of them were aimed at making friends, which was a bit odd. Exiting the student published tasks page, he entered the externally published tasks page. Task: capture a gang of robbers, a 7-person group that has repeatedly robbed exotic beast meat transport trucks, armed but with no cyborgs or genetic integrators, location near the outskirts of Jianzhen City. Reward: 30 credits. Task: hunt exotic beasts, ordinary 9th rank, bloodthirsty fish dragon, which has attacked fishing boats multiple times, location in Changzhou City's Jinhai Bay. Reward: 200 credits. Task: capture a rogue genetic integrator Catwoman, common 6th order, a Shadow Knight Cat's integrator who has tortured multiple men, active mainly in the red light districts of Shanghai City. Reward: 50 credits. Task: capture members of the Divine Plant Cult, a heretic believer of common 8th rank, who incite or coerce college students into the cult, active mainly in Shanghai City. Reward: 100 credits. The externally published tasks were numerous and the credit rewards were high. Lin Zikin felt a hint of excitement at this. With these external tasks available, he wouldn't have to worry about income anymore. After checking the tasks, the next step was to accept one. Not considering the distant ones, he focused on the nearer tasks. The Catwoman task was quite suitable, being within Shanghai City, he could take it on. As for the Divine Plant Cult task, it could be easily completed too, but there was no need to accept it. Mainly because he feared retaliation. After all, the heretical sect was an organization, and unless he could eradicate it altogether, catching just one of its members would certainly result in being targeted for revenge. The security team captain who offended the Rat God cult back in junior high was a bloody example. Lin Zikin had a certain capacity for self-protection and wasn't afraid of being targeted, but it was different for his family members, who were ordinary people. Tasks like capturing heretic believers would be deferred until his parents moved to live near Shan University. After weighing his options, in the end, Lin Zikin accepted the task of capturing the Catwoman, planning to deal with it during the weekend when he went home. He just wasn't sure if 2 days would be enough. After all, he still had to find her. If he was lucky, he might find her on the first day. But if he was unlucky, he might not find her for a whole month. These 50 credits weren't easy to earn. Otherwise, the task would have been completed long ago and wouldn't still be listed on the task page. You took on that Catwoman task. Song Yuan sounded surprised, then said, "This is your first task, and you chose a common 6th order one, that's too risky. Do you want me to accompany you?" After speaking, she added, "I won't split the credits with you, just treat me to a meal afterward." Lin Zikin politely declined, that would be a waste of Sister Yan's time, it's not necessary. If his biological level were common 6th order, he certainly wouldn't have turned down Song Yuan's offer. But the thing was, his biological level was an ordinary 9th rank, and facing a Catwoman who was only common 6th order was basically using a sledgehammer to crack a nut, he could handle it with ease. "Alright, then be careful on your own. Remember to act within your capabilities," she advised. "Yeah, I will, thanks for your concern, Sister Yan," Xiao Chen replied. Having said that, Lin Zikin expressed some confusion. "By the way, Sister Yan, how did you know that I took on the Catwoman task?" Song Yuan explained, "The task page shows who has accepted the task." Upon hearing this, Lin Zikin opened the task related to Catwoman to take a look. Sure enough, it was indeed possible to see who had taken on the task. A total of 28 people had accepted the Catwoman task. Among them, 26 were upperclassmen, with only 2 being first-year freshmen. Besides me, there's actually another freshman who has taken on the Catwoman task? Lin Zikin felt somewhat surprised. Then, he checked the information of the other freshman who had taken on the task and found out it was Ma Ziwei from the Genius class. Ma Ziwei? Her strength was at most common tier 5, how did she dare to take on this Catwoman task? She must have help. After all, as the daughter of the president of Evolution College, she held a very noble status, and it was likely that many upperclassmen in the college would be willing to fawn over her. He spent a moment mulling over these matters. Then Lin Zikin continued browsing tasks on the campus app. Looking but not accepting. Because you could only accept one task at a time, not multiple simultaneously. After browsing for roughly half an hour, his phone suddenly vibrated. It was a message from the school app, informing him that the 10 pounds of undead slug meat he had ordered last night had arrived. Lin Zikin glanced at the time, it was almost noon. He told Song Yuan he needed to head back to the dorm to cook and swiftly left the research institute. No sooner had he walked a short distance from the institute than he encountered an unwelcome guest. It was a somewhat handsome young stranger. Using danger perception, he sensed the biological pressure emanating from the young man, indicating an ordinary 7th rank. The youth had been standing under a tree playing with his phone out of boredom but, upon seeing Lin Zikin emerge from the institute, he immediately pocketed his phone and quickly stepped toward him. In just a couple of strides, he stopped in front of Lin Zikin and demanded in a very unpleasant tone, "Lin Zikin, what exactly did Wei Wei do to offend you that you need to target her like this? You swelled her face during the opening trial, kicked her butt, and now you're even competing with her for the same off-campus task. Is it Lu Juanwu who told you to do this? Picking on a girl, what does that make you? Dare you fight me?" The young man's tone grew increasingly angry, and if not for the campus rules, he probably would have been ready to beat Lin Zikin up there and then. Is this Ma Ziwei's lapdog? Or possibly Ma Zhenhe's eunuch? Thinking this, Lin Zikin asked, "Did Ma Ziwei send you, or was it President Ma?" "Neither." The young man denied, then added, "I came on my own because I simply can't stand you." Lin Zikin, so what now? The young man, "Dare you fight me?" Lin Zikin ignored the young man and walked right past him. To still encounter such idiotic lapdogs in college, that's quite something. "Stop right there." Seeing Lin Zikin ignore him completely, the young man became frustrated and reached out to grab his shoulder. Lin Zikin stopped as he wished. Then, with few words and a fierce demeanor, he turned around, aimed at the somewhat handsome face, and landed a punch. Bang! Just that sound echoed. The young man fell to the ground, knocked out cold, his face swelling visibly fast. Without looking back, Lin Zikin continued on his way to the dormitory. Zhongyuan Building No. 8, Dormitory 603. When Lin Zikin opened the door and entered, Shen Qinghan was already in the kitchen cooking. Walking into the kitchen and seeing that she had already prepared 2 dishes, he asked, "Did you get out of school early today?" "I only had 2 classes this morning. I came back at 10, spent an hour training in the gym, took a shower, and then started cooking." Shen Qinghan reported what she had done while continuing to stir-fry the last dish. Soon, the final dish was ready. Both of them sat down in the living room to eat, chatting while dining. "Xiao Chen, the 10 pounds of undead slug meat you bought from the credit mall last night have been delivered. I've put them in the fridge for you," she said. "Okay, I got it," he replied. "Xiao Chen, today in class our instructor mentioned there's going to be a duel at 3 p.m. in the gymnasium. A peak-ranking mechanical life form is challenging a genetic integrator, and it's said to be a worthwhile peak battle. He suggested everyone in the class goes to watch. Do you want to come too?" she inquired. "Let's go watch it together," Xiao Chen answered. Then, he added, "Oh, and this morning at the institute, President Liu mentioned that the school offers family resettlement housing. Any qualifying genius can have their parents move in and even arrange jobs for them. I'm planning on bringing both my parents here to live. Do you want to bring yours over too? Is there such a good deal?" Shen Qinghan's eyes widened in disbelief. Then, knitting her delicate eyebrows in concern, she said, "I'm not a freshman champion. Can I still enjoy such a benefit of family resettlement housing?" Lin Zikin, you've already reached a genetic fusion aptitude of 21%. Just mention it to your mentor, and it should be arranged for you. True. Shen Qinghan nodded, and her whole being seemed excited as she said, I'll ask my mentor right away. If I can get a resettlement house, I'll have my parents move in here. She was very homesick, and despite having left home just a few days ago, she already missed her parents. Having her parents live at school would be perfect for her. Lin Zikan casually said, then, let's go home this weekend to tell our parents about it. Shen Qinghan smiled sweetly and agreed, okay, we'll go back this weekend. Chapter 163, 130, The Powerful Machine God Group. After the meal, Lin Zikan took out the 10 pounds of undead slug meat from the refrigerator, and without avoiding Shen Qinghan, he decided to devour it right in front of her. You have absorbed a large amount of life essence from the living dead slugs. Living Dead Slug Album, 10%. After devouring the meat, Lin Zikan packed up the now useless undead slug meat in a trash bag, planning to take it downstairs and throw it away later. Xiao Chen, why are you using a trash bag for the undead slug meat? Shen Qinghan asked with a puzzled expression. In her eyes, all Lin Zikan did was take the slug meat out of the refrigerator, touched the meat inside with his finger, and then put it in a trash bag, which looked very strange. Lin Zikan explained, these pieces of undead slug meat have gone bad and need to be thrown away. Gone bad? Shen Qinghan was a bit confused. But when I signed for the delivery, it looked very fresh. Lin Zikan said, it was fresh when you signed for it, but just now, I've absorbed all the essence from the meat, and it will spoil very quickly. Absorbed the essence from the meat. Shen Qinghan was somewhat puzzled and after thinking for a moment, asked, is this your superpower? Lin Zikan nodded, yes, this is my superpower. I can absorb the essence from the exotic beast meat with a mere thought, thus gaining some of the abilities of the related exotic beasts. He no longer hid it and openly shared the secret of his ability to devour exotic beast meat with Shen Qinghan. They were living together after all, and over time, frequent devouring would unquestionably raise her suspicions, so it was better to tell her proactively. Since they were in a relationship that would lead to marriage after graduation, it made sense to share secrets. There was nothing to hide. Absorbing the essence of exotic beast meat and gaining the abilities of the associated exotic beasts. Shen Qinghan was shocked, her cherry-like mouth opened instinctively, her face filled with disbelief. After a moment, she regained her composure and realized, no wonder you don't follow the genetic fusion path, but instead the pure-blood human path. With this superpower, you don't need genetic fusion at all. After speaking, her mood dipped slightly as she said, I thought that because my suitability for genetic fusion was as high as 21%, I would eventually become as strong as you, and we would be known as the unparalleled duo, talked about by everyone. Now it seems, I thought too much. Lin Zikan smiled and said, the two words husband and wife carry much more weight than the 4 words unparalleled duo, don't they? Shen Qinghan pouted somewhat petulantly, but I just want to be the unparalleled duo with you. We will be known as the unparalleled duo. Lin Zikan comforted her with a gentle voice, you still have an unknown superpower within you. Once it's developed in the future, you might even become stronger than me. That seems possible, too. Shen Qinghan blinked her clear eyes. She said this out loud, however, in her heart, she didn't believe it at all. Lin Zikan's superpower was too formidable, so much so that it seemed absurd. She doubted there could be any other superpower in the world more incredible than his. She knew very well she would never be able to match Lin Zikan as the unparalleled duo in her lifetime. Her only extravagant hope was not to be left too far behind by Lin Zikan in the future and not to become a burden on his journey, but rather to provide him support. Yes, that would be enough. While she mulled over these thoughts, Shen Qinghan belatedly realized something. Xiao Chen actually wanted to share such an important secret with me? Does this mean that I am the most important person in his heart? That must be it, without a doubt. With this thought, Shen Qinghan's mood instantly improved, casting her regret about not being part of the unparalleled duo out of her mind. At 2:45 p.m. Lin Zikan did not go to the research institute but accompanied Shen Qinghan to the gymnasium to watch the showdown between the 8th and 9th ranks on the peak leaderboard. Many people came to watch the match, including teachers, students, and individuals from the Mech God Corporation. The Mech God Corporation is now the largest partner of the Mechanical Academy at Shanghai University, providing 80% of the various alloy equipment used in the academy. The Mech God Corporation had two objectives in generously supporting the Mechanical Academy. First, to promote mechanical modification, to prove that mechanical modification is not weaker than genetic fusion, and perhaps even stronger because mechanical modification has broader applicability. There are far more people suitable for mechanical modification than for genetic fusion. Second, to expand the corporation's influence, one of the conditions for the partnership was that Shanghai University's Mechanical Academy would send graduates to the Mech God Corporation every year. In summary, the Mech God Corporation wanted to increase its own influence. Xiao Chen, look at the second floor corridor, that mechanical genius girl we often see online is up there now. Shen Qinghan poked Lin Zikan, signaling him to look upstairs. Lin Zikan had already spotted her. On the second floor corridor, the Mech God Corporation's representatives were with the leaders of the Mechanical Academy. The genius girl from the Mech God Corporation, whose body was more than half alloy, was very conspicuous. Xiao Chen, who do you think would be more powerful if the genius from the capital and that mechanical genius girl upstairs were to fight? Shen Qinghan curiously asked. The term unparalleled duo was first heard by her from the marketing surrounding the genius from the capital and the mechanical genius girl, and she was always intrigued about who would be stronger between the two top talents from different fields. Lin Zikan was equally curious about the question. However, despite years of marketing hype, the genius from the capital and the mechanical genius girl had never clashed. Because they both knew that competing would bring no benefits, only drawbacks. As long as they never faced off and never made it clear who was superior, the topic would continue. This was good for both parties. I think, to have an approximation of who between the genius from the capital and the mechanical genius girl is more formidable, we just need to see who wins in the upcoming match, and then we can make a somewhat rough judgment, Lin Zikan said. If the 9th-ranked mechanical being wins, it would mean the mechanical genius girl is more impressive. And if the 8th-ranked evolutionary being wins, it would be the genius from the capital university that is superior. Lin Zikan analyzed logically. The mechanical being ranked 9th has enhancements from the Mechanical God Corporation, which well reflects the strength of the corporation. If this 9th-ranked mechanical being could win against the 8th-ranked evolutionary being, it would suggest that mechanical enhancements are stronger than genetic fusion. To some extent, this could indicate that the mechanical genius girl is stronger than the genius from the capital university. Of course, these are all speculations and not necessarily accurate. Soon, the time reached 3 p.m. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, the two contenders stepped onto the stage. The 8th-ranked evolutionary being was a young man with a pair of ox horns on his head. The 9th-ranked mechanical being was a young man covered in a mechanical exoskeleton. The moment the two stepped onto the stage, high-strength transparent glass walls rose around the martial stage to protect the audience from incidental harm from the competitors' actions. For mechanical beings, combat might involve widespread artillery bombardment and bullets flying everywhere. If there wasn't a glass wall enclosure, the audience seats might be littered with casualties before the contest even ended. For the same reason, there were no referees on the martial stage. Begin the duel. At the broadcast command, the two on the martial stage clashed in an instant. In an instant, the martial stage was a scene of relentless gunfire. Massive sounds of hot weapons firing filled the air, turning it into a place of thick smoke and low visibility. Fortunately, Lin Zikan possessed the biometric attribute Eyes of the Sky, which allowed him to see far beyond the average person. Even with the stage filled with smoke, he could clearly make out the battle's situation. Right from the start, the mechanical being used an anti-airflow propulsion device to take to the skies, raining down firepower on the evolutionary being below. The evolutionary being, unable to reach the mechanical being, protected his head and curled up on the martial stage, enduring the barrage of hot weapons fired from above. Soon, the evolutionary being's body was riddled with bullet holes, many parts blasted away. But he didn't die, he was just bloodied and weak. After expending all his ammunition, the mechanical being landed on the ground, switching to close combat mode, engaging the severely injured evolutionary being in a fist fight. The close combat lasted for a few minutes. In the end, the evolutionary being lay on the martial stage, barely clinging to life. Meanwhile, the mechanical being only had some cracks on his exoskeleton, which still looked intact. When the result of this duel emerged, a wave of discussion immediately erupted among the spectators. In the past, Evolution College could dominate Mechanical Academy in combat, but ever since the Mechanical God Corporation collaborated with Mechanical Academy, the situation has been turned on its head. Yet, mechanical technology is too powerful. If it weren't for the need to give up the flesh in mechanical modification, I'd want to become a mechanically modified human. After today's battle, it feels like the power hierarchy among the colleges is about to change. Actually, it's not as exaggerated as you say. Mechanically modified humans only have an early advantage, relying on lower-level genetic integrators who can't fly, gaining the upper hand through aerial attacks. Indeed, once biological levels are high enough, many genetic integrators gain the ability to fly. At that realm, mechanically modified humans will, in turn, find themselves at a disadvantage. That's only if the biological level is high enough. For us ordinary people, our biological level in this lifetime will at most be in the advanced category. Discussing beyond that is meaningless. Yet, even just at the university stage, I feel like Mechanical Academy is really going to turn things around. Everyone was surprised that the 9th-ranked mechanical being won so easily, basically treating the 8th-ranked evolutionary being like a punching bag the entire time. It just goes to show that the Mechanical God Corporation, this colossal entity, is incredibly powerful, able to exponentially increase a person's strength with mechanical technology. Linziken listened to everyone's discussion for a while. He wasn't the least bit concerned about which college would be more formidable in the future. What he cared about was only one thing: how many college credits he could earn from being in the top 10 of the peak list each month. Thinking this, he searched for related information on the school's app and soon learned the answer. First place, 1,000 credits per month. Second place, 900 credits per month. Third place, 800 credits per month. And so on, until the 10th place, which earns 100 credits per month. Beyond the credit rewards, he also saw information about the rules for challenging the peak list. New students must complete the competition for new students next semester before attempting to challenge the peak list. There is only one opportunity each week to challenge the peak list, and when doing so, you cannot challenge an opponent ranked more than 50 places above you. With only one opportunity each week to challenge the list, and not being able to target anyone more than 50 places higher. The peak list has a total of 500 places. This means that counting from after completing the competition for new students next semester, it would take at least 10 weeks to reach the top at the fastest. And considering that the competition for new students occurs in the middle of next semester, reaching the top of the peak list would be close to the end of the first academic year's second term. Feels a bit too long. Linziken muttered to himself. Chapter 164, 131, Catwoman. Shanghai University, President's Office. Yuan Dongji sat in her chair, engaged in a video call with a trusted confidant from her family. Miss, in recent times, Origin Land number 36 has been unusually peaceful, without disturbances for several months in a row. We don't know whether the other side has given up on this channel or is scheming some major plan. On the computer screen, a short-haired woman with a valiant appearance was reporting to Yuan Dongji about the situation in Source Land number 36. Yuan Dongji nodded and asked, "How is Kyungsu faring in the origin land lately? Is she adapting well?" "Very well. She's growing incredibly fast and is about to evolve to the advanced second rank." She's evolving faster than I expected." "Miss, just who is Kyungsu? Why is her physique so special, so extraordinary that she doesn't even seem like a person from Earth, as if we're two different species? Don't ask about things you shouldn't." "Yes, I'm sorry, miss. It was thoughtless of me," apologized the woman on the video, somewhat flustered. Yuan Dongji said nothing more but remarked lightly, "All right, I have a student duel to watch here, so I won't talk any longer. You go ahead with your tasks." After speaking, she ended the video call and switched to the surveillance from the sports hall to watch the forthcoming duel. It was the duel between the 9th-ranked mechanically modified human and the 8th-ranked genetic integrator. After spending some time watching the duel and seeing the mechanically modified human emerge as the victor, Yuan Dongji couldn't help feeling a bit surprised. The mechanism group was stronger than she had imagined. The adaptability of mechanical modifications held more advantage. Regrettably, no matter how formidable mechanical modifications are, their limitations are still too great. They can only protect one's home on Earth and cannot enter the origin land. Once in the origin land, all electronic mechanical devices would malfunction, and even the most formidable mechanically modified humans would be reduced to a bunch of scrap metal. Elsewhere. After watching the duel, Lin Zikan and Shen Qinghan left the sports hall shortly after. One headed to the research institute to learn the blood tempering technique. The other went back to the dorm to train her strength. Though they lived together, they each had their schedules, and their lives were no longer synchronized as before starting university. Time passed quickly. A few days later. Friday afternoon after school. Both packed their school bags and took a diddy ride home from the dorm. The school was close to home, about an hour's drive, and the hired car stopped at their house. Zhang Wangzhen was waiting outside the door early on. Upon seeing them get out of the car, she greeted them with a beaming smile, telling them that she had made some snacks and squeezed some juice, and urged them to come inside and try them. In the evening, the two families gathered for dinner. At the table, Shen Qinghan turned into a storyteller, vividly describing Lin Zikan's performance during the initiation trial at the start of school. He talked about how Lin Zikan knocked out top provincial scholars with his fists and even overpowered genetic integrators, astonishing the school's leadership. The parents from both families knew early on that Lin Zikan had become the new king, but this was their first time hearing the details. Listening to Shen Qinghan's narration, all four were greatly astounded. Among them, Lin Yanzheng teased, "Son, you're not one of those legendary heretics, are you? Many experts have conjectured that if there are exotic beasts in this world, there should be heretics too, but this theory has yet to be proven." Zhang Wangzhen gave him an unamused glance. "Our son came from my belly, how could he be a heretic?" Lin Yanzheng laughed it off, "I was just praising how amazing our son is." Hearing the conversation filled with family warmth, Lin Zikan smiled. Later, he spoke to his parents about the issue of the resettlement housing. He mentioned that as he became more famous, he would likely be targeted by the heretical sect. For safety reasons, he wanted his parents to move into the school. Lin Yanzheng and Zhang Wangzhen, both freelance novelists, agreed without a second thought since writing was the same no matter where they lived, saying they were ready to move anytime. Upon hearing this, Shen Qinghan also suggested that Shen Jianyi and Su Meng should move into Shanghai University. She mentioned the workload, saying that the students in the inner campus of Shanghai University still needed to take cultural elective courses, and they could arrange for her parents to teach these courses at the school. Shen Jianyi and Su Meng liked the idea and said they would move to Shanghai University once they completed the handover work with their current school. The time approached 10 o'clock at night. Lin Zikan opened the school app to check the task details of the Catwoman mission he had accepted. Target code name, Catwoman, Juicer, Collector of the Stick, Master of Disguise. Target strength, biological level 6th order, extremely fast speed. Behavioral characteristics, often found seducing men in the red light districts of Shanghai City, leading them to secluded areas for intimate affairs, then brutally murdering them afterward, severing their lineage and collecting their appendages. Precautions, the target is skilled in disguise and highly cunning, adept at using various drugs. Other content, omitted. Looking at the mission details above, Lin Zikin finally understood why this mission had been hanging for so long without being completed. The location was too vague, and the enemy too cunning. Indeed, it was difficult to catch. However, these were not problems for Lin Zikin. With the effects of Sky Eye and Danger Perception biometric attributes, he could thoroughly search every red light district in Shanghai City. As long as he searched carefully enough, there was a good chance of finding the target. 10:10 p.m. Lin Zikin made a special effort with his hairstyle and slightly altered his appearance to avoid being recognized as the second highest scorer from Nanjiang province on the college entrance examination, to avoid drawing unnecessary attention. Lying to his parents that he was going to bed early, he instead climbed out the window from the second floor, leaped down, and took a taxi to the nearest red light district to continue his systematic search. Upon arriving at the destination, he used Sky Eye to scan every individual within sight, not sparing either men or women because the target could use disguise techniques. With Danger Perception, he detected each individual's biological level within range, focusing on people whose biological level was 6th order. This guy's eyes are terrifying. What is he doing? He's so handsome, but his gaze is a bit unsettling. Everyone scanned by Sky Eye felt as if they were mice being watched by an eagle, causing an inexplicable anxiety. Several women thought Lin Zikin was handsome and wanted to approach him, but they were frightened and backed away by his Sky Eye. "Kid, who are you glaring at?" A burly man felt offended by Lin Zikin's gaze and walked over with an unfriendly face to pick a fight. Lin Zikin didn't waste words with the man, simply unleashing his biological pressure to stun him, then turning to leave the red light district for the next one. This red light district had already been searched once, and there was no sign of the suspicious target. As for the possibility that the target might have shown up just as he left, resulting in a perfect miss, that was certainly possible, but unavoidable. He could only hope that he was luckier and wouldn't be so unlucky. However, his luck seemed quite average tonight. Throughout the rest of the night, Lin Zikin systematically searched 10 red light districts in a row, and didn't encounter a single suspect. And by this time, it was 4 in the morning. Seeing it was so late, he had no choice but to go home to sleep, planning to continue his search the following night. The next night, Lin Zikin arrived on time at the red light district and began his systematic search just like the night before. After searching several red light districts in succession, he found nothing. Just as he was preparing to head to the next red light district, he encountered an acquaintance. It was Ma Ziwei from the genius class. By Ma Ziwei's side, a man and a woman accompanied her. The couple appeared to be in their 20s and were both 7th order in biological level, likely senior students from Shanghai University who came specially to accompany Ma Ziwei on the Catwoman mission. How unlucky! Ma Ziwei also saw Lin Zikin, giving him not a hint of a friendly face, pulled a sulky expression, snorted coldly, and turned to leave with the 2 people beside her. Once they were far from Lin Zikin, she stopped immediately and said to the 2 beside her, "Lin Zikin has also taken on the Catwoman mission, and he must be here to find her as well. We have to find her before he does, to make his effort fruitless." "Leave it to me," said the young man among them with confidence. "I have the gene of a demon hound fused with me, my sense of smell is extremely sensitive. And I can certainly find Catwoman before he does." Just as he said this, the young man's expression subtly changed. He instinctively sniffed the air, then with a look of delight said, "I smell Catwoman, she's right inside that bar across the street." Upon hearing this, Ma Ziwei immediately became excited, then let's go catch Catwoman quickly. Later, we should bring Catwoman in front of Lin Zikan and infuriate him. She had been holding a grudge about Lin Zikan swelling her face during the school trials and was eager to anger him if possible, to disgust him utterly. Quickly, the three of them rushed to the bar across the street to capture Catwoman. Chapter 165, 132. A clever hunter often appears in the guise of the prey. Dream Fantasy Bar, 2nd floor. Under the leadership of their senior who had merged with the magic hound Jean, Ma Ziwei and her schoolmate were quickly brought up to the 2nd floor of the bar. Where is that woman? Ma Ziwei lowered her voice, using that woman to refer to Catwoman, to avoid alerting their quarry. The senior did not speak, only extending his finger to point at a girl sitting in a corner up ahead. Ma Ziwei followed his gesture and saw a girl who looked like a college student. The girl was dressed conservatively, neither showing her chest nor her legs, wearing a pair of black-framed glasses that gave off a studious vibe, sitting somewhat reservedly in the corner by herself. She seemed like someone visiting a bar for the first time, giving off quite an introverted impression. Are you sure it's her? Ma Ziwei asked the senior to confirm. The girl in the corner didn't look at all like the debauched Catwoman described in the mission brief. Most likely, she had meticulously disguised her appearance. But out of caution, they still needed to make sure. The senior affirmed, the biological scent she's emitting is exactly the same as what I smelled on the Catwoman's personal belongings at the security department. There's no mistake. Ma Ziwei nodded, speaking softly, then let's not delay, we should go do her in now. The senior and the schoolmate made an okay gesture and immediately split into 3 directions to approach the girl in the corner naturally. In just a short while, the 3 had closed in around the girl, cutting off all her escape routes. Just as the 3 were about to make a move on the girl, who had been quietly looking at her phone, she suddenly curled her lips up in a scornful smirk. The next moment, she leaped up, smashing through the glass window behind her, and jumped down to escape. Chase her! Ma Ziwei shouted loudly. As her voice fell, the 3 of them jumped out the window, relentlessly pursuing the fleeing girl. No good, the Catwoman is too fast, we simply can't catch up, we're going to lose her. Having chased for less than a few hundred meters, Ma Ziwei felt somewhat powerless to continue. The senior said, no worries, I can keep tracking her scent. As long as she thinks she's safe and stops for a moment, we can catch up to her right away. While running, Ma Ziwei said, Ming brother, Shan sister, you two are faster than me, you go ahead and catch up to her first, I'll follow gradually from behind. Okay, then the 2 of us will go ahead. After dropping this line, the senior and schoolmate, both with biological levels reaching ordinary 7th rank, sped up and chased after the girl. In just a few seconds, Ma Ziwei was left dozens of meters behind, unable to see the 2 figures. The street was bustling with people, greatly obstructing the line of sight. However, this did not stop Ma Ziwei from following. Because all 3 of them were wearing locator watches, Ma Ziwei only needed to follow the locator to keep up. About 5 minutes later, Ma Ziwei finally caught up with the 2. At that moment, they had stopped at the entrance of an old street waiting for her. It wasn't so much waiting as it was that the 2 had lost track of their quarry. The senior looked at Ma Ziwei, frowning, the scent of the Catwoman has disappeared, covered up by some smell, making it difficult for me to locate her by scent now. Upon hearing that, Ma Ziwei immediately took out a bottle of reagent from her person and handed it to the senior, saying, Ming brother, here's a bottle of gene amplification liquid, drink it and see if you can smell the Catwoman's scent again. I'll try. The senior reached out to take the reagent. Just as he was about to open the cap and drink it, he suddenly caught the Catwoman's scent again. It was faint, but he definitely smelled it. Why wait, we don't need to waste this bottle of gene amplification liquid. The senior smiled, handed the reagent back to Ma Ziwei, and then said, I've picked up the Catwoman's scent again, it's inside the street. Then let's go, we should hurry in. Anxious not to let the Catwoman get away again, Ma Ziwei urged them hastily. Very quickly, under the senior's lead, the three of them penetrated deeper into the old street and finally stopped in front of a secluded, old alleyway. According to the source of the scent, the Catwoman was hiding inside. Looking down the alleyway, they saw it was full of life's refuse, emitting wafts of foul odor. Probably some unscrupulous residents, too lazy to go to the designated waste stations, opted to dump their garbage into the alleyway instead. It really stinks in there. The senior frowned deeply. No wonder I suddenly couldn't smell the Catwoman's scent earlier, it must have been covered by the stench from the garbage in the alley. Then, as my nose adapted to these odors, I was slowly able to recognize the Catwoman's scent again. Ma Ziwei said, let's go, we'll go in and find the Catwoman, quick battle, quick decision. The schoolmate agreed, we must make it quick, it's too stinky inside, staying even a second longer is torture. After a brief exchange, the three of them immediately set off deeper into the alleyway. Then, guided by the scent of the Catwoman, they found the bespectacled girl they had been chasing, at the far end of the alley in a dead end. At this time, the bespectacled girl stood leaning against the wall, quietly playing with her phone. The senior looked at the bespectacled girl and said, "You're pretty good at hiding, deliberately choosing an alley full of trash smell, we almost lost you. If I really wanted to run, do you think you could have caught up?" The bespectacled girl pocketed her phone and turned her head to look at the three people blocking the entrance of the alley, a shallow smile appearing on her lips. The smarter the hunter, the more they enjoy posing as the prey, don't you understand that? With those words, she took off her glasses and casually tossed them aside. Then, on the top of her head, a pair of thick cat ears grew at a visible speed. And several fine whiskers rapidly sprouted on her face. In just a brief moment, the girl who was filled with a student's air had transformed into a wild-eyed cat-ear girl. The biological pressure she exuded also skyrocketed to the ordinary 9th rank. Ordinary 9th rank. Feeling the powerful biological pressure emanating from the cat-ear girl, all three of them wore faces of surprise that quickly turned to horror, and without saying another word, they turned and ran. This cat-ear girl had hidden her strength. Her biological level wasn't the ordinary 6th order described in the mission, but an extraordinary ordinary 9th rank. This mission was impossible to complete. Humph, thinking of escaping. The cat-ear girl sneered with contempt. Then with a slight effort of her calves, she leaped high into the air, vaulting over the heads of the three people who were fleeing in front of her. She landed with a thud right before them, blocking their only escape route. So cool! The cat-ear girl stared intently at the senior, unable to resist sticking out her tongue and licking her lips. "This handsome guy, the moment you came into the bar, I've been craving you." Bang! As soon as the cat-ear girl finished speaking, Ma Ziwei pulled out a smoke bomb from her bosom and smashed it on the ground, releasing a large cloud of purple-blue smoke. Inhaling this purple-blue smoke significantly reduced a creature's biological activity, causing a dramatic weakening in their sensory perception. It had a good effect, whether for killing the enemy or for escaping. Under the cover of the smoke, Ma Ziwei and the other two quickly covered their mouths and noses and escaped from the alley. Once they were well away from the alley, the trio finally stopped. The female senior said with a look of fright, "That was so dangerous, that was really so dangerous. No wonder the cat-ear girl has been at large in Shanghai City for so long without being caught, she was hiding her strength." The senior, still shaken, said, "Wai Wei, call President Ma quickly and inform him about the cat-ear girl, tell him to contact the relevant school leaders immediately to revise that damn cat-ear girl mission." I'll call now." Ma Ziwei's lips quivered slightly, and she shakily took out her phone to call Ma Zhenhe. But before she could make the call, she somehow thought of Lin Zikan. Lin Zikan had also taken up this cat-ear girl mission. With his strength, if he encountered the cat-ear girl without any defensive items, he would surely be doomed. No, I have to warn him. Thinking this, Ma Ziwei quickly opened WeChat, found Shen Qinghan's avatar, and sent her an invitation for a voice chat. She didn't have Lin Zikin's contact information, so she could only contact Shen Qinghan first, tell her about the cat ear girl, and then have Shen Qinghan contact Lin Zikin. She really disliked Lin Zikin, but she was clear in her heart that strictly speaking, there was no deep hatred between them, and it wasn't a matter of leaving him to die. Meanwhile, in the alley, the cat ear girl had escaped the engulfment of the purple-blue smoke and moved to a smoke-free area, where her sensory perception quickly returned. Bang! Angry, she kicked a hole through the wall in front of her, cursing in irritation, "Damn it, the cooked duck flew away." Bang! 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 After kicking the wall 3 times in a row and feeling that she had vented enough frustration, the cat ear girl didn't stay in the alley any longer and quickly left. Her whereabouts had been exposed, and if she didn't leave promptly, she risked being encircled. No sooner had the cat ear girl come out of the alley than she froze in place. On the old street ahead, she saw an extremely handsome young man walking towards her. This young man's attractiveness surpassed that of Ma Ziwei's senior from just moments before by more than 10-fold. So handsome! Salivating, the cat ear girl instantly showed a perverted smile full of animalistic desire, "A blessing in disguise, but your misfortune for bumping into me means you can only blame your bad luck." After muttering these words to herself, the cat ear girl could no longer resist the urge in her heart and charged at the young man at top speed, intending to drag him somewhere secluded to thoroughly enjoy him. Chapter 166, 133, Overlevel Power Kill. On the old streets, Lin Zikin walked leisurely toward the alley ahead. When he saw a catwoman with a pair of beast ears on her head and whiskers on her face emerging from the alley, his eyes instantly brightened. A real catwoman. 50 credits in the bag. Buzz. Just as Lin Zikin was thinking about the 50 credits, a swooshing noise exploded in front of him. It was the catwoman, whose biological level had reached the ordinary 9th order, making her move. At a speed barely visible to the naked eye, she charged towards Lin Zikin like lightning. Her speed was so fast that it generated a strong air current around her body, causing the road she passed to be instantly filled with flying dust. Faced with the attack of the peer-level catwoman, Lin Zikin was not afraid at all. He immediately burst forward with his blood chi power, charging towards her to meet her head-on. How is he faster than me? The catwoman, who was attacking Lin Zikin, was stunned to see him suddenly unleash a speed that far exceeded hers. In that moment of her bewilderment, Lin Zikin, who had been 100 meters away just a moment ago, now appeared right in front of her, punching her innocent student face fiercely. Then, a loud boom was heard. The catwoman, who took the punch squarely, was instantly sent flying backward, crashing heavily on the ground and tumbling all the way into the alley. Soon, another boom sounded. Lin Zikin's calves burst forth with power, shattering the ground beneath his feet, and he instantly turned into a blur as he rushed into the alley, pursuing his advantage. When he entered the alley, the catwoman he had punched flying was already getting up from the ground. The half of her face that took the punch burst open. But what burst was just the outer layer of fake face skin, revealing the face of a woman in her 40s. Not ugly, somewhat attractive, but it lacked any dazzling appeal. Just a layer of face skin burst. Lin Zikin looked at the catwoman who was standing up against the wall, surprised that her head had not exploded from the punch. Since childhood, this was the first time he encountered an opponent who could withstand half of his strength. While he was still surprised, on the other side, the catwoman's heart was extremely shocked. This young man looked so young, probably in high school or just starting university. How could he be so strong? And there was no sign of a genetic integrator on his body. The punch that had just been delivered was purely from his own physical strength. But how could that be possible? In just a brief moment, myriad thoughts flashed through the catwoman's mind, her face filled with terror as she realized she might meet her downfall today. With that thought, without any hesitation, she powered her legs and buzzed as she dashed backwards, fleeing. She had integrated the Shadow Nightcat gene, making her speed far exceed that of ordinary creatures at the same biological level, comparable to that of advanced level creatures. As long as she wasn't suicidal or met an overpowering advanced level creature, she could always remain unbeatable and flee when she couldn't win the fight. However, Linziken, who was behind her, was not any slower than her, he was even faster. In just a few seconds, he caught up to her, leaping into the air and fiercely kicking her head. This kick used 100% of his strength. Boom! Just one blast. The fleeing Catwoman was immediately kicked into the air and smashed against the wall, her body burying deep into it, out of sight. About several seconds passed, accompanied by the sound of falling rubble. The Catwoman buried in the wall finally climbed out, looking utterly disheveled. At this point, her neck had broken, and her head dangling helplessly appeared rather eerie. Linziken didn't give her a chance to catch her breath, rushed forward immediately and kicked her again, boom, driving her back into the crumbling wall, causing it to break open with large web-like cracks, teetering on the brink of collapse. This time, there was no movement from the wall for a long time, and it seemed the Catwoman might have died inside. But Linziken knew that the Catwoman was not dead, because he could still sense the biological level pressure emanating from her body. However, this pressure was getting weaker and weaker. Like a candle about to burn out, about to be extinguished. Just as Linziken picked up a brick, ready to smash it into the wall to finish off the Catwoman. The increasingly weaker biological level pressure inside the Catwoman suddenly, like a fire drenched in oil, burst into intense flames. Growing stronger and stronger. Growing stronger and stronger. In the blink of an eye, the biological level pressure inside the Catwoman surged from being nearly extinguished at an ordinary first order to the peak of ordinary ninth order. And, it continued to soar. Until it broke the confinement of ordinary creatures and just crossed the threshold to evolve into an advanced level creature, then it slowly stabilized. Boom! The wall filled with cracks suddenly exploded, stones flying all over the alley, dust and smoke rising everywhere. Then, a figure with a muscular build appeared in Linziken's sight. It was the Catwoman. But her appearance had changed drastically. Her neck was no longer broken, and had self-healed. Her body was now covered in bulging muscles, exuding great strength. Her eyes were wild, radiating a crushing presence. Faced with a life and death crisis, the Catwoman was forced to fully activate all the Shadow Nightcat genes in her body, taking her transformation a step further to gain greater strength. The cost was, she lost more of her humanity, while her beastly nature intensified, and her rationale diminished as well. To her, this cost was permanent. Because her compatibility with genetic fusion was low, and she was prone to backlash from the exotic beast genes. This was exactly why she became a Catwoman. Who exactly are you? The Catwoman bared her teeth, her gaze fiercely fixed on Linziken, completely losing the innocent student appearance she previously had. At this moment, her animal instincts were overpowering her humanity. However, the intense pain throughout her body prevented her from losing her sanity and recklessly attacking Linziken. Linziken didn't answer the Catwoman's question. Seeing that her biological level had suddenly elevated to a high-level category and that she was in a desperate fight to the death stance, he felt the risk of confronting her was too high. So, he calmly said, "Sorry, wrong person." After speaking, he disappeared in the blink of an eye, completely vanishing at the entrance of the alley. The Catwoman, uncertain of Linziken's strength, chose to watch him leave and not engage him in combat. Who exactly is he? Why can his physical strength be so exaggerated? This is simply unbelievable. The Catwoman murmured a few words, then quickly vanished, hurrying away from the controversial area to avoid any further trouble. Just as she stepped out of the alley, suddenly, a steel pipe, thick as a chicken egg, fiercely stabbed from the side, ch sound piercing her head and pinning her dead against the wall. She was attacked stealthily, but before she could even react to defend herself, another steel pipe harshly stabbed her, ch sound piercing her heart. As soon as the second steel pipe was inserted, it was immediately pulled out, then fiercely stabbed in again. Ch. It continued to be violently stabbed dozens to hundreds of times in rapid succession. Each thrust was filled with blood chi power, brutally destroying the Catwoman's muscles, bones, and tissues, impaling her alive against a wall at the entrance of the alley. Seeing that the Catwoman was beyond dead and all the biological intimidation within her body was completely dissipated, Linziken finally relaxed his grip on the steel pipe and casually threw it to the ground. He had overpowered and killed her. Simply overpowered and killed a high-level genetic integrator. Though it involved a stealthy assault, he truly, unharmed, killed a high-level Shadow Knight Cat genetic integrator with the strength of an ordinary 9th rank. Natural camouflage is truly strong. By hiding my presence beside the wall, even a high-level Shadow Knight Cat genetic integrator with highly sensitive senses couldn't detect my presence. And also the damage boost from survival of the fittest. He thought about these things. The adrenaline that Linziken's body had previously released had also faded away by now. Without the help of adrenaline, now looking at the bloody and hold corpse of the Catwoman on the wall, he suddenly felt a bit uneasy. But it wasn't too severe. After all, he had killed rat people long ago, which immunized him somewhat to the discomfort. Once bitten, twice shy, maybe someday I'll let little dirty girl see some blood to toughen up her somewhat timid nature. Linziken thought to himself. He felt that since Shen Qinghan had embarked on the path of evolution, it was inevitable that she would face combat. Allowing her to see blood early on, to experience the cruelty of survival of the fittest, would help her go further on her path of evolution in the future. Linziken pondered these matters briefly. He raised his hand to wipe the blood splattered on his face, then cleaned his hand and took out his phone from his pocket to take a photo of the deceased Catwoman. He uploaded the photo to the school app's task system to prove that he had dealt with Catwoman. Then he called the security department to have someone come and clean up the scene. After finishing all this, Linziken reached out to touch the body of the Catwoman in front of him, beginning to consume the Shadow Knight Cat gene within her body. You have consumed a large amount of Shadow Knight Cat's life origin. Shadow Knight Cat Atlas, 36%. How much? 36%? Linziken was stunned for a moment, not expecting that consuming the gene of just one high-level Shadow Knight Cat genetic integrator would increase the Atlas progress so much. He thought about it and figured that it must be because the Catwoman was overwhelmed by the Shadow Knight Cat gene in her body, which led to a higher proportion of the gene. It was just a fleeting thought, he didn't dwell on it too much. In the next half-minute or so, Linziken carefully handled the Catwoman's body on the wall, concealing any traces of his consumption. Afterward, not waiting for the security department, he directly left the alley and went home to shower and sleep. In the school app's task system, there was an essential item he had to complete. This item could serve as an official statement. The school would coordinate with the security department later, so he didn't need to go to the security department to describe what had happened. Elsewhere, on a street thousands of meters away from the alley, Ma Ziwei made a call to Ma Zhenhe, angrily reporting, "Dad, that Catwoman task I took, the information in it was wrong. That Catwoman's biological level isn't just an ordinary 6th order, it was actually as high as ordinary 9th order. I nearly died." "What?" A shocked voice came from the phone. Then quickly, Ma Zhenhe's voice turned somewhat angry. "Wei, describe the specific details of what happened. Later, Dad will go talk to Director He, who is in charge of the task system." "Dad, here's what happened." Ma Ziwei steadied her emotions and described in great detail to Ma Zhenhe the entire process of her and her peers chasing Catwoman. After understanding the situation, Ma Zhenhe said he would talk to Director He about it now, and told Ma Ziwei to hurry back to Shanghai University if she had nothing else to do, and not to stay out to avoid any revenge from the cat woman. Ma Ziwei, always obedient to her parents, immediately hailed a ride-sharing car after ending the call, and along with her seniors, started heading back to Shanghai University. Just after getting into the car, the senior sitting in the back seat with Ma Ziwei suddenly spoke in surprise, "What's going on? How did Lin Zikin complete that Catwoman task? What did you say?" Ma Ziwei thought she had misheard, saying in disbelief, that Catwoman's biological level is as high as an ordinary 9th rank, how could he possibly complete it? The senior said, "Really, you two quickly check the task. It shows that Lin Zikin completed it just a minute ago." Ma Ziwei didn't take out her phone, but leaned over to look at the senior's phone instead. When she saw that the Catwoman task had indeed been completed by Lin Zikin, she was full of disbelief. This is impossible. That cunning Catwoman! She was a genetic integrator of a high-level ordinary 9th order Shadow Knight cats. Lin Zikin was just a freshman. What could he possibly have used to complete it? Chapter 167, 134. Living Dead Slugs Album. Sunday evening. After dinner at home, Lin Zikin left with Shen Qinghan for Shanghai University. The two of them waved off by both sets of parents who had proposed to drive them but were declined. Lin Zikin felt it was a waste of their parents' time to drive them back and forth and that it was more practical to just take a ditty. Upon arriving at school and just entering the dorm, his school app notified him that 300 school credits had been deposited into his account. It was the reward for completing the Catwoman task. The reward was originally 50 credits, but it was increased to 300 because Director He, who managed the task system, found out that the biological level of the Catwoman was not an ordinary 6th order, but an ordinary 9th order. Out of the 300 credits, 200 were the original reward for an ordinary 9th order task. The extra 100 credits were compensation for Lin Zikin. The school's task system is really unreliable. Lucky you're strong enough, or else that Catwoman task would have killed you. Seeing the credits deposit notification on Lin Zikin's phone, Shen Qinghan couldn't help but complain. Lin Zikin agreed, "Indeed, we'll have to be more careful in accepting tasks in the future." Shen Qinghan, "1 point of caution isn't enough, we need 99. Lin Zikin laughed, "Indeed." Then he added, "By the way, I'll bring you along for suitable tasks in the future, let you see some action and toughen your mind." "Sure." Shen Qinghan agreed without hesitation. If it was something Lin Zikin was up to, she supported it unconditionally. In the times that followed, both of them sat on the living room couch, absorbed in their phones. Lin Zikin browsed the news for a while, but quickly accessed the school's credit shop on the app and ordered 90 pounds of undead slug meat, aiming to unlock the Undead Slug album by the next morning. He had previously worried that buying too much exotic beast meat at once might seem odd and attract unwanted attention, so he planned on ordering 10 pounds at a time, spreading out the orders over 10 instances to slowly accumulate 100 pounds. But now he realized this was too troublesome and unnecessary. Purchasing 100 pounds of exotic beast meat wasn't really that unusual after all, and nobody would care. He was worrying over nothing, only adding unnecessary stress to himself. "Do you want to eat some exotic beast meat? I'll place an order." Having bought the undead slug meat, Lin Zikin turned to Shen Qinghan and asked. Exotic beast meat was highly nutritious and helpful for evolution, and since Shen Qinghan was physically weak, he thought he should buy more for her to eat. "Let me see." Without further ado, Shen Qinghan opened the credit shop on her phone, browsed for a bit and then said, "Let's get some violent great eagle meat. 6 pounds for 1 credit, and it will last several days in the fridge." She was still a bit reluctant to spend credits and picked one of the cheapest exotic beast meats. Lin Zikin, "Okay, then I'll place the order for the violent great eagle meat." "No, don't you order, I'll do it. I still have the 90 credits you gave me," she said, placing the order directly on the credit shop. Lin Zikin let her do as she pleased, after all. They were like family under the same roof, and credits could be shared without worrying about whose they were. Ding dong! Suddenly, the doorbell rang. Hearing the sound, Lin Zikin immediately reached out with his senses to see who was at the door. It was Ma Ziwei standing outside. What was she here for? About the Catwoman task? With this question in mind, Lin Zikin got up from the couch to open the door. Shen Qinghan followed. Creak, the door of the dorm opened. There stood Ma Ziwei, who politely said to the two of them, "I'm sorry to bother you so late. What can I do for you?" Lin Zikin asked in a calm tone. Ma Ziwei cut to the chase, "I'm really curious about how you completed that Catwoman task. Would you mind sharing? It's not very convenient." "Oh, then I won't disturb you," Ma Ziwei said, and turned to walk away without persisting or making an awkward situation. Shen Qinghan hesitated for a moment before calling out to her, "Ziwei, do you want to come in for some tea? I have tea leaves from home, roasted by my mom. Some other time, I've still got things to do." Leaving behind those indifferent words, Ma Ziwei quickly disappeared at the stairway. She lived in the dorm below, room 501, rather than with her parents at home. She found living with them a bit annoying and preferred the freedom of living on her own. "Xiao Chen, I think Ziwei is a nice person. We could interact with her more in the future," Shen Qinghan suggested to Lin Zikin. She had a good impression of Ma Ziwei and wanted to get on good terms with the aloof daughter of the dean. That's because, one night, Ma Ziwei had specifically messaged her on WeChat to correct the mission information about the Catwoman, asking her to pass the correction to Lin Zikin. This act had maxed out her fondness for Ma Ziwei. Lin Zikin nodded and said, "That's very good. If you want, you can invite her over to our place more often, after all, she lives right downstairs." Having said this, the two quickly went back inside the room. Seeing that the time was about right, they entered the training room together to exercise, one doing strength training and the other undergoing a second tempering skin. After working out and taking a shower, both of them felt a bit hungry, so they went to the kitchen to cook some noodles. They both exercised a lot every day and got hungry easily, needing to eat multiple times to replenish their energy. Before long, the noodles were ready. They sat opposite each other at the dining table eating noodles. As they ate, Shen Qinghan stretched her foot under the table towards Lin Zikin and skillfully teased him with her movements. "What are you doing?" Lin Zikin reached out to grab Shen Qinghan's mischievous little foot, looked up at her, and asked. Shen Qinghan smiled with curved eyes and said, "I'm not doing much, just wanted to flirt with you a bit. I saw the female leads do this all the time to the male leads for fun in the study videos. How come you're getting naughtier and naughtier?" "It's not naughty, it's called being charming. Just say whether you like it or not." "Well, I do like it." Lin Zikin released the delicate and pristine little foot he was holding and said sincerely. Upon hearing his answer, Shen Qinghan felt a bit smug, then while continuing to tease him with her foot, she said playfully, "In the study videos, the female lead will crawl under the table to flirt with the male lead. Maybe when I'm in a good mood one day, I'll crawl under the table to give you the experience of being the male lead." Lin Zikin didn't say anything, pretending to be indifferent with a smile, yet inside he was full of anticipation. Shen Qinghan, the increasingly mischievous girl, had won his heart. The next morning, after eating breakfast, Shen Qinghan went out alone to attend classes in the academic building. Lin Zikin stayed at home, waiting for the delivery of the 90 pounds of undead slug meat he had ordered the night before. He saw on the school's app that the undead slug meat was scheduled to be delivered around 9 am. So, he planned to wait until the undead slug's album was opened to see what biometric attributes he could obtain before heading over to the research institute to study the blood tempering technique script. At 8:43 in the morning, the 90 pounds of undead slug meat was delivered. Also delivered was the 6 pounds of violent great eagle meat that Shen Qinghan had purchased. After putting all the violent great eagle meat into the fridge, Lin Zikin couldn't wait to open the box containing the undead slug meat and started to devour it instantly with a thought. You have devoured a large amount of the life essence of living dead slugs. Living Dead Slug Album, 100%. As the text information appeared, a gravely injured slug, lying on the ground barely breathing, gradually materialized in the void. It was severely wounded, its body sliced into countless pieces by the claws of a ferocious great eagle. It seemed beyond saving, left only to await death. However, in less than 5 minutes, this slug, torn to pieces, began to reassemble, its fragmented body sticking back together one by one at a speed visible to the naked eye, seamlessly healing until it was as good as new, miraculously coming back to life. At the same time, 2 pieces of text information floated in the void. You have successfully opened the Living Dead Slug album, gaining the biometric attribute Rapid Self-Healing. Rapid Self-Healing, your healing ability is greatly enhanced, as long as you don't die on the spot and have enough energy supply, no matter the severity of the injury, you can heal yourself. This healing ability is invincible. Looking at the content in the prompt information, Lin Zikin was ecstatic. He then grimaced with pain as he bit his own hand hard to test how his healing capability fared. This bite tore a large chunk of flesh beneath his right thumb, and blood kept spurting out relentlessly. However, under the effect of rapid self-healing, in a matter of seconds, the bleeding stopped. A few more seconds later, the pain dissipated too, replaced by a ticklish sensation. Lin Zikin went into the kitchen and washed the blood off his hand to check the wound. Then, just as he had anticipated, the wound on his hand had vanished. It was completely healed. There was no sign of injury to be seen. For the sake of thoroughness, he tested it a few more times. Each test yielded the same result, the wounds all healed as if they had never been there. Lin Zikin felt invincible. With this rapid self-healing, as long as he could hang on to a breath of life and had sufficient energy supply, he would be able to constantly revive himself at full health and magic. Even if he were to castrate himself as part of practicing the invincible sunflower manual, he could regrow it back at any time. Chapter 168, 135. The Outsider. After testing the fast self-healing effect, Lin Zikin didn't use a knife to castrate himself to verify his bold idea. Instead, he headed out to the study institute to begin a new day of learning the blood tempering technique inscriptions. No sooner had Lin Zikin entered the institute than Lu Chuanwu and Song Yuan approached him, asking about the mission involving the cat woman. On the Saturday night, Lu Chuanwu had seen Ma Zhenhe going to look for Director He, who managed the mission system. He saw the two of them immediately got into an argument. And before long, they even came to blows. The incident caused quite a commotion. The reason for the commotion was a severe error in the information about the mission Ma Zhenhe's daughter had taken on involving the cat woman. The cat woman's true strength was that of an ordinary 9th rank, but the mission listed her as an ordinary 6th rank 3 levels off, which almost killed Ma Zhenhe's daughter. Furious, Ma Zhenhe went to Director He to settle the account. And since Director He had a temper himself, he claimed it was normal for there to be discrepancies in the mission, and he was annoyed by Ma Zhenhe making a mountain out of a molehill. Their quarrel escalated to the point where they started fighting. Afterwards, Lu Chuanwu returned to the institute and shared this curious incident with Song Yuan. Then, from Song Yuan, he heard that Lin Zikin had also taken on that same mission involving the cat woman and even completed it, which greatly piqued their curiosity. Ziai Chen, the biological level of that cat woman is as high as an ordinary 9th order. Your biological level is only an ordinary 6th order, how did you manage to complete the mission? Lu Chuanwu said, unable to fathom it. At this, Song Yuan thought about how she had previously offered to accompany Lin Zikin on the mission for free, not requiring any academic credits to be shared afterward, but Lin Zikin had declined. From this, she speculated, Ziai Chen, does your family have some powerful relative who accompanied you on the mission with the cat woman? Is that how you managed to kill a 9th order creature? In the face of their curiosity, Lin Zikin honestly replied, "No one helped me, I killed the cat woman by myself." "Your biological level is only ordinary 6th order, how did you manage to kill an ordinary 9th order cat woman all by yourself? Are you sure you're not joking?" Lu Chuanwu wore a look of disbelief, convinced that Lin Zikin was surely joking. But after giving it some serious thought, he felt that Lin Zikin wasn't the type to make such jokes, which puzzled him even more. "Did you set up a trap or something?" Song Yuan thought for a moment and, if Lin Zikin wasn't joking, he must have used a trap to prevail against a stronger opponent through cunning. However, much to her surprise, Lin Zikin said, "No, it was a one-on-one duel the whole time, I killed her with pure physical strength." He said this very calmly, but the two listeners were anything but calm. Kill the cat woman with pure physical strength? What does that mean? Could it be that you're hiding your true strength? Lu Chuanwu suddenly thought of this possibility and began to question with hastened breath, "Ziai Chen, you're not going to tell me that you have actually been hiding your strength, are you?" I've hidden it. Indeed. My true strength is that of an ordinary 9th order." As the words fell, Lin Zikin's eyes sharpened, and he instantly released the pressure of an advanced level creature of an ordinary 9th order, making the hair of the two people in front of him flutter. How is this possible? Feeling the formidable pressure emanating from Lin Zikin, Lu Chuanwu and Song Yuan were both dumbfounded, staring with mouths agape, stupefied like wooden chickens. Lin Zikin's biological level is actually at the ordinary 9th order. And he's just a freshman who had started school. This isn't scientific at all. Seeing the two shocked into stillness, Lin Zikin explained calmly, "In fact, during the summer holiday, I'd already achieved body tempering great accomplishment once and am now in the midst of a second tempering skin phase." In front of Lu Chuanwu and Song Yuan, he felt there was no need to keep hiding his progress in body refining. After all, this was just one of many cards up his sleeve, and not a particularly notable one at that. If showing this card would do more good than harm, then revealing it to gain advantages was a worthwhile exchange. After having spent some time with Lu Chuanwu and Song Yuan, Lin Zikin felt they were decent enough to be trustworthy, and concluded that revealing his body refining progress to them would be entirely harmless. The advantage, in the future, he could have Lu Chuanwu and Song Yuan fully support his research on opening acupoints. The harmlessness, he was certain that Lu Chuanwu and Song Yuan would keep his body refining progress secret, ensuring that only the 3 people within the institute would know. Overall, the revelation today was the result of Lin Zikin's careful contemplation over the weekend. Body tempering great accomplishment on your first try. Hearing Lin Zikin's honest revelation, Lu Chuanwu was totally flabbergasted. After snapping out of his stupor, he became overjoyed, bursting into laughter and saying, "Ha ha, heaven rewards the diligent, heaven rewards the diligent indeed. The years of persistence I, Lu Chuanwu, have committed are finally paying off. Ziai Chen, with you here, the pure-blood human path is bound to be a tremendous success. When the time comes, your name, as well as that of Tianren Pavilion, will surely astonish the whole world." At that moment, Lu Chuanwu felt as if he were dreaming. After many years of dedicated research into the pure-blood human path, which led to his family's downfall and separation, there had never been any significant progress. But finally, on this day after so many years, he encountered an unparalleled genius perfectly suited for the tempering blood technique. With such a rare genius paving the way, the pure-blood human path could surely shine bright on earth, becoming humanity's most potent salvation weapon. This was the reward of diligence. After calming down a bit, Lu Chuanwu looked at Lin Zikin with a beaming smile and said, "Ziai Chen, your bodily talent is truly too exaggerated. If it weren't for the fact that you have no origin force in your body, I'd suspect you're a foreign being from the origin land." Foreign being from the origin land. Lin Zikin felt that he had heard some very critical information. Lu Chuanwu explained, "Since this world has exotic beasts, correspondingly, There must also be exotic beings, but those exotic beings mostly reside in the origin land, not on Earth. So we can hardly ever come across them. Ah! Song Yuan, standing beside him, showed surprise and said, "Are there really exotic beings?" Although she had joined the Tianren Pavilion for 10 years now, Lu Chuanwu had never mentioned this to her. For a moment, she felt a little discriminated against. Lin Zikan just arrived and he told him this secret, but I've been working at the research institute for 10 years and he's never mentioned it to me. That's really unfair. Director, what is origin force? Lin Zikan grasped the key term, full of curiosity. Lu Chuanwu, stroking his beard, replied, "Origin force is a unique energy of beings from the origin land, similar to Qi blood and spirit." Similar to Qi blood and spirit? Lin Zikan then asked, "So how can origin force be used, and what specific effects does it have?" Lu Chuanwu said, "About that, I'm still somewhat unable to give you an answer, as I've lived for so many years and I've only encountered 2 exotic beings." Song Yuan asked with some confusion, "Director, where did you encounter these exotic beings? You've been stuck at ordinary 9th rank, you can't possibly enter the origin land." "Sister Yan, are there any requirements for entering the origin land?" "Yes, the standards set by the authorities are, if you want to enter the origin land, the biological level has to start from advanced level, otherwise entering is like being cannon fodder." "I see." Lin Zikan nodded, gaining a new piece of knowledge. Song Yuan looked at Lu Chuanwu, urging him, "Director, you still haven't told us where you encountered those exotic beings." Lu Chuanwu answered, "I encountered them here on Earth. One was a female disciple my ex-wife took in 10 years ago from who knows where, the other one was met in a mysterious, super ancient ruin that is the same ruin where the blood tempering technique was discovered." "You met them in a ruin?" Song Yuan raised an eyebrow and said, "It wasn't a corpse lying in a coffin, dead as a doornail, was it?" "Indeed, it was lying in a coffin." After saying this, Lu Chuanwu then solemnly warned both of them, "The secrets I've told you today, make sure they aren't leaked at all, they have to remain confidential, understand?" Song Yuan patted her ample chest and assured, "Don't worry, Director, I'm very tight-lipped, I've never revealed a single secret." "I trust you." Lu Chuanwu nodded, then turned to Lin Zikan with an even more solemn expression and cautioned, "Ziai Chen, regarding your strength, at this stage you must not display it too extravagantly, or too far beyond what common people comprehend, otherwise you will definitely be targeted by the heretical sect, attracting unnecessary danger. It's dangerous even in the school. The heretical sects now are pervasive, and nobody can be sure there are no heretics among the humans in high positions." Lu Chuanwu mentioned an example. Over 40 years ago, a vice-chancellor at Capital University was actually a heretic. He designed a plot to kill everyone in his team when they entered the origin land, nearly knocking Capital University down. It took nearly a decade for the university to recover. Song Yuan listened with some surprise. "I'm a born and bred resident of Capital City. Such a big incident happened at Capital University, and I didn't know anything about it." "It's normal that you didn't know, the incident was heavily suppressed at the time. Without channels of information, it would be impossible to know." After finishing, Lu Chuanwu once again turned toward Lin Zikan and suggested, "Ziai Chen, if you want to take on missions that match your strength to earn credits in the future, use your sister Yan's account to accept them. Your sister Yan's biological level is also ordinary 9th rank, just like yours. If you use her account to accept missions, you can fully unleash your strength during the task without worrying that your true abilities will be exposed. Once you break the constraints of ordinary ranks with the path of a pure-blood human and evolve into an advanced level creature, I'll find you a powerful backer to protect you. Then you can show off your abilities freely and astonish the world." Lin Zikan, "Okay, I understand." Song Yuan, driven by curiosity, said, "Director, you've mentioned this powerful backer many times. Who exactly are they?" Lu Chuanwu, it's not convenient to disclose that now, but when Zi Chen breaks the constraints of the ordinary ranks with the body of a pure-blood human, you will naturally find out. After listening to the conversation between the two, Lin Zikan looked at Lu Chuanmu and said, Director, do you have any materials related to the origin land? I want to learn more about knowledge related to the origin land. Whether it's exotic beasts, exotic beings, or the heretical sect, all are inseparably related to the origin land. This made him filled with curiosity about the origin land. Lu Chuanmu shook his head, I don't have such materials. Everything about the origin land has always been classified. Currently, my understanding of the origin land comes mostly from my ex-wife and some records in the ruins. However, you don't have to rush to understand it. Before your biological level evolves to advanced level, having more knowledge about the origin land is useless. Because you can't enter the origin land, the knowledge you learn about it won't be of any use. For now, you only need to know this much. For us, the majority of creatures in the origin land are enemies who have been trying every means possible to invade Earth. As to why they want to invade Earth, some strong beings speculate that there's something on Earth these creatures from the origin land desire. As Lu Chuanmu finished this last sentence, his cell phone in his pocket rang. Once he took the call, a mature woman's voice came from the other end. It sounded like she was in her early 40s. Lu Chuanmu went to one side, chatting and laughing with the woman on the phone. After not talking for long, he hung up the call and came back to Lin Zikan and Song Yuan, saying, an old flame of many years has invited me over to her place for dinner. I won't stay long at the research institute, contact me on WeChat if you need me. After dropping this remark, he hurriedly left the research institute. The director is really hard-working, going to secure investments for Tianren Pavilion again, Song Yuan remarked, watching Lu Chuanmu's retreating figure. Lin Zikan didn't have any comment but silently went over to the sofa in front and sat down, lost in thought. Exotic beasts, exotic beings, the heretical sect, origin force. All these elements are inseparably connected to the origin land. What exactly is the origin land like? Chapter 169, 136, Care from Song Yuan. By the way, Zi Chen. How is it that your biological level and body refining progress are hidden? How come even the Dean can't see through them, and Principal Yuan can't either? Song Yuan walked over and sat down beside Lin Zikan, one hand resting on her chest and the other propping up her cheek, her eyes watery as she looked at him, her voice full of wonder. Hearing this question, Lin Zikan belated realized that Song Yuan, this tall and mixed-blood beauty, truly lacked a sense of personal boundaries. Are these kinds of secrets concerning one's trump cards something you can just casually ask others? Often, even family and partners are kept in the dark about such secrets. How could he possibly tell an outsider like her? Mentally complaining for a moment, Lin Zikan politely smiled and said, Sorry, Sister Yan, it's probably not convenient for me to disclose that. Brother Zikan, don't be so stingy, okay? Can you tell Sister Yan? Song Yuan batted her light blue eyes, her voice carrying a hint of pleading, I'm really too curious. As a trade, I'll also share a secret with you. You can ask me about any secret you want. Her curiosity was genuine, with an especially strong thirst for knowledge. If Lin Zikan didn't give her an answer, she would feel unbearably uncomfortable, as if itching all over. Sister Yan, it really isn't convenient. Lin Zikan's tone was much more serious this time as he firmly refused Song Yuan, to prevent her from continuing to ask. Seeing how earnest Lin Zikan was, Song Yuan knew she wouldn't get an answer and gave up. But she couldn't help being unbearably curious. So she changed tact and asked, then, let's switch to a different question. You said your biological level is ordinary 9th rank and your body refining progress is at the first body tempering great accomplishment. You haven't hidden your strength, have you? There's no hiding. Blood tempering technique at the first body refining, biological level at ordinary 9th rank, that's all my strength right now. Lin Zikan said calmly, satisfying Song Yuan's curiosity. With her curiosity satisfied, Song Yuan suddenly didn't feel that itch anymore. Looking at Lin Zikan, she said with a smile, as a return for satisfying my curiosity, I will now answer a secret for you. It can be as private as you want, and you can ask anything. Lin Zikan thought for a moment and felt he had nothing to ask, so he casually said, I'll hold on to it for now. If there's anything I want to ask later, I'll ask you then. That's fine, then I'll make a note of it in your WeChat contacts so that I can remind you if you forget later on. Song Yuan said as she took out her phone, opened WeChat, clicked on Lin Zikan's profile, and wrote in the remarks section that she owed him a secret. She didn't like owing others, she would definitely repay what she could. After noting it down, Song Yuan looked up at Lin Zikan and asked, by the way, your biological level is ordinary 9th rank, and I am too. Do you want to spar a bit with each other? That's possible. Lin Zikan immediately agreed without even thinking. Sparring with an opponent of the same rank would help clarify his own strength and could also improve his combat skills. There was no reason not to agree. Soon, they found a relatively open space to spar. Before they started, Song Yuan reminded him, my body refining progress is at the 2nd stage of tempering skin and tempering flesh. And 1/5 completion of bone tempering. My bodily strength is quite a bit stronger than yours, so feel free to attack me with all your might later, don't hold back for fear of hurting me. Okay, I got it. Lin Zikan verbally agreed, but he certainly wouldn't use his full strength when the sparring started. If it was just a comparison of biological level and body refining progress, then his physical strength was indeed not as high as Song Yuan's. But he had various powerful biometric attributes enhancing him. There were those that increased damage like survival of the fittest and social animal. There were those that enhanced perception like danger perception. And those that strengthened his dynamic sight like eyes of the sky and so on. With all these biometric attributes enhancing him, his overall strength was surely stronger than Song Yuan's. If he genuinely used his full strength, Song Yuan likely couldn't withstand it. The physical strength of someone with 2nd stage body refinement completion was comparable to an ordinary advanced 1st rank fighter. And an advanced 1st rank fighter was what the Catwoman was last Saturday night. That night, the Catwoman fully activated all the Shadow Knight Cat genes in her body, temporarily breaking through to an advanced 1st rank. Yet even so, she was ultimately defeated by Lin Zikan without sustaining any injuries. Although there was the element of a surprise attack, a defeat was indeed a defeat. All the damage Lin Zikan inflicted while attacking the Catwoman was genuine. By comparison, Song Yuan, who had only progressed to the 2nd stage of bone tempering, was not likely to be a match for Lin Zikan. Ready yet? Seeing that Lin Zikan had taken his position, Song Yuan called out to him. Lin Zikan nodded, ready. Good, let's get started now, come on, you attack me first, I'll take care of the defense, and let's see how strong your attacks are, Song Yuan told Lin Zikan with the tone of an instructor. Lin Zikan didn't waste any words and immediately lunged forward, rushing up to Song Yuan and aiming a kick at her abdomen. He didn't use full force, only about 50% of his strength, to test Song Yuan's defensive power first. Bang! Just such a sound rang out. Lin Zikan's foot landed heavily on Song Yuan's abdomen, kicking her back several steps. What impressive strength! Song Yuan was shocked inside as a sharp pain came from her abdomen, but she bore it and pretended it was nothing. This guy was ridiculously strong. Even though it was just a 1st body tempering great accomplishment, he managed to injure my abdomen, which had undergone a 2nd tempering flesh. Given his compatibility with the blood tempering technique, he was likely not far from surpassing her. No. She had to make a strong impression while she was still stronger than him, she had to show off fiercely. Otherwise, she would lose the chance to do so later. Thinking this, Song Yuan immediately adopted an instructor's posture and shook her head at Lin Zikan. Ziai Chen, I'm not satisfied with that kick you just delivered. If you have the opportunity to strike, you need to aim for maximizing damage, aim to severely injure your opponent, and not waste any chance to attack. Just now, I gave you the opportunity to strike first, you shouldn't have kicked my abdomen. But you should have aimed for my vital areas. See my eyes. You need to thrust viciously. See my groin. You need to kick fiercely. See my throat. Just chop down with a hand strike directly. Focusing your attacks on these vital areas is the correct way to attack. Having said this, Song Yuan looked into Lin Zikin's eyes with a serious expression and asked, in battle, there is only life and death, no martial morality. Do you understand? I understand. Lin Zikin nodded in agreement. He very much agreed with Song Yuan's words and felt that battle should indeed only concern life and death, without regard for martial morality. If you can ambush, then ambush. If you can target vital spots, target them. Whoever talks about martial morality is at a disadvantage. And in battle, being at a disadvantage probably means death. Song Yuan was very satisfied with Lin Zikin's response and said to him with a smile and a loud voice, very good. Then up next, we will start the actual sparring. I hope you can last more than 5 minutes against me. The moment her words fell, she flashed towards Lin Zikin, taking the initiative to charge at him. As for standing still and letting Lin Zikin take the first move, she would pass on that. He had kicked her just now, and it almost killed her with pain. On the other side, facing Song Yuan's rapidly approaching attack, Lin Zikin did not dodge. Instead, he charged towards her, engaging in a fierce physical clash. Bang! 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 Soon, the two of them were fiercely exchanging blows, hand against hand, foot against foot, producing a series of crisp collisions that sounded painful. But it was only Song Yuan who was in pain, so much that her face was contorted, almost resembling a series of emoticon stickers throughout the fight. Lin Zikin felt all right, not very painful, but to save Song Yuan's face, he also pretended to be in great pain, grimacing and grinding his teeth. The only special feeling was that Song Yuan's physique seemed very slender, but her muscles were surprisingly firm, and although they seemed small, they could explode with formidable strength. It was the opposite of Shen Qinghan. Shen Qinghan's muscles were soft and felt like water when needed, giving a particularly comfortable sensation. Bang! 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 The battle continued for just over a minute. The two of them were evenly matched, unable to best one another. This outcome left Song Yuan dumbfounded, doubting her life for a moment. What's going on? How is he so strong? I'm already going all out. How come it's still an even match? The normal script shouldn't be me easily crushing him. I won't lose, will I? Thinking this, Song Yuan began to feel uncomfortable. She had just posed as a teacher in front of Lin Zikin, and if she ended up losing to him in the end, where would she put her face? Fortunately, Lin Zikin was very understanding of human relationships and etiquette. 3 minutes into the battle, he deliberately slowed his dodge and was kicked out of the fighting area by Song Yuan, regretfully losing the duel. Ziai Chen, you really have a promising future. Song Yuan looked at Lin Zikin and appraised him highly. I trained for a whole 10 years longer than you, but when I used 80% of my strength, I could only fight you to a standstill. Only when I was pushed to use 90% of my strength did I manage to win the duel by a narrow margin. With your talent, give it another year and I probably won't be a match for you. Song Yuan continued, so, in the upcoming year, while my strength can still surpass yours, I'll be your sparring partner and do my best to improve your fighting skills. Lin Zikin replied, then I'll be in your care from now on, Sister Yan. Hey, what are you talking about? It's not a bother at all, Song Yuan waved her hand and added, I've been stuck in the ordinary 9th rank for many years, nearly causing me depression. Only with your arrival did I finally see a hope of evolving into an advanced level creature. Strictly speaking, it's I who should be asking you to lead me forward. Lin Zikin smiled and said, then it's us helping each other out, and bothering each other. Right, helping each other out, and bothering each other, agreed Song Yun with a genuine smile on her face. 10 years in the Tianren Pavilion had been tough for her. Originally a highly promising capital city second-ranked scholar, she joined the Tianren Pavilion and adopted the pure-blood human path, stagnating in the ordinary 9th rank, and was used as a negative example, being told she had become indistinguishable from the masses. She might appear indifferent on the surface to these taunts. However, they truly pained her inside. After all, she was still a high school second-ranked scholar, and no person who achieved that rank was without pride. Because those without pride, those without a desire to win, would never have the motivation to become a high school second-ranked scholar. But now, none of that mattered anymore. Because she knew that with Lin Zikin joining the Tianren Pavilion, she, indistinguishable from the masses, would definitely be able to ride on his coattails to a bright future under his leadership. In return for being lifted by Lin Zikin, she could only do her utmost to bring him benefits on the road to evolution. Being Lin Zikin's sparring partner was one of the advantages she could offer him. With that in mind, she looked at Lin Zikin and said, Ziyi Chen, come on, let's continue. All right. Lin Zikin agreed, and quickly resumed sparring with Song Yun. You are in battle, Qi Blood +1, Combat Techniques +1, Battle Awareness +1. Chapter 170, 137, The End is Near. The dilapidated Lu family mansion. The basement. Lu Chuanwu took 2 steps at a time, hastening to a bronze ancient coffin filled with the aura of vicissitude, where he stopped. Gazing at the bronze ancient coffin, he said with respectful excitement, Pavilion Master, I have finally found a peerless genius who harbors the hope of opening his acupoints. There was no response from the bronze ancient coffin. The basement fell silent. Lu Chuanwu didn't mind, and continued to speak, this genius has just turned 18 this year. He has had the translated version of the blood tempering technique for only 3 months, yet he has already achieved body tempering great accomplishment once and is now undergoing the second body tempering. With such physical talent, in the future, he will certainly be able to break through the shackles of common levels as a pure-blood human and evolve into an advanced level creature, a rare level creature, or even an epic level creature. By then, you will be able to rely on him to transfer Qi blood to you every day to maintain your life, so you no longer have to barely survive in this cramped bronze ancient coffin. And with a powerful you to protect him, with you and that genius leading the way for Tianren Pavilion, it will surely flourish on earth, leading the people of earth in an ascendance of flesh and blood. Lu Chuanwu spoke with great excitement. But from beginning to end, the pavilion master he spoke of gave no response at all. The moment turned somewhat eerie. It was as if looking at a mentally disturbed person muttering to himself in the confined, dim basement, a chilling sight indeed. Seeing that the other party remained unresponsive, Lu Chuanwu's brow furrowed slightly. But that was all he did, without any other superfluous actions. He simply stood quietly in front of the coffin the whole time, waiting for the person inside the bronze ancient coffin to respond. About 3 minutes passed. Finally, a weak female voice echoed from the bronze ancient coffin. That was the only response. Then, everything quieted down completely, falling into utter silence. The woman inside the bronze ancient coffin fell back into a deep slumber. The single word she just uttered had exhausted all of her energy for the day, leaving her powerless to make any further sound. At this, Lu Chuanwu's brows deeply furrowed. The woman's body within the bronze ancient coffin was growing weaker by the day. Decades ago, when the ancient and weathered bronze ancient coffin was discovered in a ruin, the woman inside could still talk intermittently. And today, decades later, the woman had weakened to the point where even uttering a simple phoneme took her up to half a minute to muster. This state it felt as if death was closing in. Thinking this, Lu Chuanwu shook his head involuntarily. He quickly left the basement, leaving a quiet environment for the woman in the bronze ancient coffin to rest deeply. Once he exited the basement, Lu Chuanyu couldn't help but sigh, if only we could communicate normally. In that case, I wouldn't have to waste so much time studying the A-Cup-Ointment chapter of the blood tempering technique. I could just directly ask the Pavilion Master, the pioneer of the pure blood human path, and seek her guidance on cultivating the blood tempering technique, both simple and efficient. The more Lu Chuanyu spoke, the more he felt it was a pity. Back when he first moved the bronze ancient coffin into the mansion's basement, the woman's consciousness was still relatively clear, and her energy was sufficient to communicate with the outside world. Unfortunately, at that time, because of the language barrier, communication was difficult. By the time they managed to somewhat understand each other's language and could communicate fairly smoothly, the consciousness of the woman in the coffin suddenly became blurred, and her condition grew weaker and weaker. Until now, she had weakened to this extent, having to fall into a slumber after voicing a single phoneme, making communication impossible. I hope Zi-Chen manages to evolve into an advanced level creature with the flesh and blood of a pure blood human before the Pavilion Master completely perishes. Then, he can transfer Qi blood to maintain her life, keeping her consciousness clear. Once the Pavilion Master steps in, the blood tempering technique will definitely become more widespread. And its upper limits can be developed even higher. Lu Chuanyu muttered to himself. Elsewhere, the Research Institute. Lin Zikan and Song Yuan had just finished sparring and were now sitting on the sofa, chatting casually. Zi-Chen, you have already achieved body tempering great accomplishment once in the blood tempering technique, so you can try to open the acupoints now. I will teach you the latest method of A-Cup Ointment opening that I've researched, give it a try and see if you can succeed. Alright, I'll give it a try. Come, I'll explain, and you listen carefully. Song Yuan began the teaching session, articulating clearly, the human body has a total of 366 acupoints, scattered in various locations within our bodies. According to the records of the blood tempering technique, the easiest acupoints to open are the 4 that are located around our heart. What you need to do now is to first sense the 4 acupoints around the heart, and then control the Qi blood to strike at them, at a frequency of 10 times per second. The stronger the impact, the better, but be careful not to hit the heart itself, otherwise it will be so painful that your heart may cramp or even possibly stop beating on the spot. Also pay attention to these points. The first point. The second point. Song Yuan shared all the insights and experiences she had acquired over the years in attempting to open the acupoints, speaking in detail for nearly half an hour before finishing. Feeling that she hadn't missed anything, she then said to Lin Zikan, well, that's all there is to it. Now try to feel for the 4 acupoints around your heart. No need, I already sensed them during the summer vacation. I know the location of all 366 acupoints inside my body, I can directly start to strike the acupoints according to your method. Having said that, Lin Zikan concentrated and began controlling his Qi blood to strike the 4 acupoints around his heart. With the frequency of 10 times a second, he exerted as much force as he could. He continued the high-intensity strikes for over 10 minutes. However, the 4 acupoints around his heart didn't budge at all, and he couldn't open them. The only sensation on the acupoints was pain, a very intense pain. It hurt so much that he clenched his teeth and broke out into a cold sweat on his forehead. After pausing to rest, he tried a few more times. But the result was still the same. It simply didn't work, he couldn't open the acupoints. It's okay, it's very normal not to feel anything. After all, you have only achieved body tempering great accomplishment once, maybe your physical strength is not yet sufficient to open the acupoints. Of course, it's also possible that the method I taught you is incorrect. In any case, there's still plenty of time, and there's no need to rush. Song Yuan worried that Lin Zikan might be discouraged by this, and comforted him in her role as a caring big sister. After all, Lin Zikan's talent was astonishing, and ever since he joined Tianren Pavilion, everything had been smooth sailing. A sudden setback could potentially unbalance him. However, Lin Zikin's heart was completely unfazed, he did not need comforting at all. He was very clear within that failure was normal, it would have been strange had he succeeded. How long had he been practicing the blood tempering technique? Less than 3 months. He was already very satisfied with his current progress. As for the acupoints, he would study them slowly in the future, eventually, he would succeed. Even if he didn't, it didn't matter because he wasn't obligated to practice the blood tempering technique. If all else failed, he could always rely on use it or lose it to gradually improve. As long as the training time was long enough and the intensity high enough, he could grind his way to becoming an advanced level creature. And regarding the blood tempering technique, if he managed to successfully temper his body 5 times in the end, then the time spent would have been worth it, even extremely profitable.